Hello, welcome to 90 Seconds Blast on Dev TV. We are continuing our conversation about private sector engagement in economic development. In the first episode, we discussed briefly what private sector engagement is. And in the second episode, we discussed three of the reasons we do private sector engagement in economic development. This episode starts the series of discussion on how to do private sector engagement. In future episodes, we'll discuss the strategies that are effective in doing private sector engagement. We'll discuss the tools that have been used by different projects and different professionals to do private sector engagement. And we'll further explore some of the learnings that has happened since we started doing private sector engagement in economic development. In this episode, though, what I want to do is to lay the foundation by discussing three elements that I think is important for us to bear in mind as we start private sector engagement in economic development. The first of those factors is the timing of private sector engagement in the project life cycle. We can do private sector engagement at any point in the life cycle of a project. But it's best to start to do private sector engagement at the very beginning of the life cycle. What that does is it begins to solidify the relationship that the private sector that you have chosen to pilot a particular idea can begin to own and we will begin to learn lessons on how best to resolve whatever constraints we're trying to resolve with the private sector partner. But this is determined by the second factor. In some instances, we might not be able to start private sector engagement at the beginning because of the nature and the context in which we work. So the context is the second element that we need to bear in mind when we're thinking about the private sector engagement, especially the choice of strategy and tools to do the private sector engagement. We'll further explore this in later episodes. The third element is the role that we play as private sector professionals, as economic development professionals, when we're doing private sector engagement. This is determined by the first two, the timing and the context. If we're starting to do the private sector engagement at the beginning of the project, it does mean that we have to be a facilitator, an idea generation, a partner for investment opportunity search with the private sector that we have chosen to engage with. If we're in the middle, or perhaps we're towards the end of the project life cycle, what it does mean is that we are now promoting an idea that probably has been piloted successfully with new set of private sector actors. And that requires our role to change to investment promotion professionals. So we will be speaking in the language of the private sector. We'll be conducting ourselves in the manner in which an investment promoter conducts his or herself. So these are the three elements that I thought I should bring as a foundation to the discussion on how to do private sector engagement. And that's the timing of the engagement, the context, and how the context decides or guides us into the strategies that we adopt, and the role that we play as economic development professional. This is the foundation. Thank you for watching. See you